It's Joe Jennings. He joins us here on Air Sports News. Joe, it's good to see you, my friend. It really is good to see you.
Great to see you too, Regan.
So,
thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. This is great.
You've been on my list for a while, just trying to find the right opportunity. For anybody who doesn't know Joe, if you've seen things in the movies or on videos of crazy things falling through the sky, Joe Jennings is probably the man who's put that all together, captured the imagery, and actually built the stuff and made it fly. Isn't that right?
True. Yeah. I mean, there quite a bit of it. Yeah, quite a bit of it. I was behind the camera filming.
Yeah.
Obviously, quite a bit of it I wasn't. I'm not the only one out there. There are a number of other really accomplished people. I think that as far as flying objects go, I feel like that's kind of a specialty. I'm pretty good at that stuff. So a lot of that is mine.
I mean, we're all familiar with the living room scenario with Jeffro. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh, great.
But I want to talk about the first how did that start when you first started putting things in freefall?
Man, when I was with Rob Harris, we always talked about making a skydiving video, and we were always just, whether we were partying and a little bit high or just in a car traveling somewhere, we always talked about just like making it something different, because there were already videos out there that I think portrayed just beautiful, accomplished skydivers doing really, beautiful jumps and wardrobe and all that. And we just thought, man, maybe let's just go wreck stuff and just have fun and just do whatever we can that makes everybody who's around us just kind of crack up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that was kind of the direction that both of us thought about taking. And then even after Rob had passed and I was continuing on with the project, it just in that spirit, I just wanted to do unusual things. And it turned out to be just a really cool kind of a, like it was more than I expected it to be. Throwing things out of an airplane, you expect almost everything to just come out and fall straight down. Then of course you find out that every object has its own, sort of fluid dynamic profile. It has its own aerodynamic profile. It's not just going to fall. It's going to fly,
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out, okay, well, we want to film this thing. How do we make it fall fast enough or slow enough for us to film it? And how do we film it without being hit by it or having it hit something? And it just turned out to be just all these challenges I hadn't seen, and I ended up just kind of falling in love with it.
Yeah. Where did you start with all that? I mean, do you start just by practice, by putting things out the back of a Skyvan, or how do you work out all these fluid dynamics, and you're modeling it or what?
It's interesting. At the beginning, it was like, okay, well, let's do a junk day. This was like part of the video that I put out. We did this segment called Junk Day, and it was all about just like, let's shove everything we can out of the back of a Skyvan, and we're going to go over a drop test area where you can crash things into the desert.
Yeah.
Right. And it was all about just let's go have fun and go film this stuff. Right. And so we made all kinds of assumptions about how things were going to fall, and we collected all these objects, and we went out to Arizona. And a person who was really sort of a big co-conspirator in all of this was Brian Burke. Do you remember Brian Burke at the time? He was the manager, and of course I was being told by all kinds of people, like, just the answer to this question is no, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and it's just not going to happen, and so on and so forth. And Brian's response was, I mean, first of all, he really loved the idea of just just all this kind of redneck craziness, you know?
Really? Yeah.
Oh yeah, he loved it. And his theme the entire time was, you know, what could possibly go wrong? So we went out to Arizona and we shoved a whole bunch of things out of airplanes. And I mean, we had a blast doing it, but we learned so much, you know, because we were videotaping all of it, and you collect all of this data, and you see, okay, well, this object did this.
Yeah.
That object, we expected it to do this, and instead it did that because of the way the air caught it. And you could look back at things frame by frame and sort of begin to get an understanding of what things wanted to do as soon as they hit the relative wind, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there was just so much. It was almost like after a while, I was looking at the footage, like almost like just like a lesson in physics, you know? And I realized there's just, wow, there's just so much that goes into making something fly right side up. And, you know, it's a lot more complicated than we thought. In fact, our very first car, we pitched it out and everybody expected a 2,000-pound car, no matter how it flips, or 2,500-pound car, is just going to go straight down the pipe. Where else is it going to go?
Right.
We found out it's like it tracks more efficiently than we can.
Wow.
Because of its surface areas. You know, if it caught a surface area, you know, you have this big flat bottom, and the next thing you know, the car's just like, boom, you know? And so you find yourself, you know, when you're filming a car or an object that has a big surface area, it's like you're playing dodgeball. You know, you have to really slide and let it go by you. You can't outrun it or track it. You have to dodge it. You know what I mean? So, well, in fact, you know, I mean, our very first car, and really one of my favorite all-time shots, was Olav Zipser's perspective of the car running him over. It was pretty amazing. Luckily, he was fine. But again, you know, we saw the way that car just tilted up toward him. Imagine, like, this is his perspective of the car.
It's coming.
And before you know it, the car is here, just boom, you know, just taking him out. But he was lucky enough that the car, when it got to him, was already pitched up like this and starting to push back.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
God, no, I wouldn't even thought about that. Of course, but it's obvious when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, everything, like, we're all, I think, and I found this in skydiving because I think, you know, we're all very, very intelligent, you know, 2020 hindsight. We know everything, you know, and if I had that person's malfunction, I would have done this, that, or the other thing. You know, you hear these conversations all the time, and it's like, we're great when we're thinking back on stuff.
Yeah.
When you're in the midst of it, you know, you just kind of, you go into this mode of focus, and you go and you get the job done. But then, you know, you have all this footage to look at, and it's like, oh, okay. All right. I see how that works, you know, and that just really turned me on. I like the whole process of the welding and the building and the, you know, getting dirty and being up all night and just the whole process, and then cleaning it up out of the desert at the end, you know, and just all of it, you know.
Would you do things with center of gravity or change weight distribution in the things, of course? Yeah.
Absolutely. You end up building, you end up sort of building and disguising fairings and things into objects, things that will deflect wind. You think about how fast to get it out of the airplane so it'll catch the relative wind in a way that will allow it to stay upright.
Right.
You know, so for a car, you just kind of, you think, all right, how long is the car and how heavy is it? And you build in some fairings and you hide them as best as you can. We did the same thing for the flying living room with Jeffro. That thing was a platform with fairings all over it, but we made the fairings look like cabinets and things.
Oh, interesting.
You know? Yeah. So, but any of these objects, because they're so they're so crazy heavy that if you get them out and they don't catch the relative wind right, they're going to begin to pick up their own momentum and completely overpower the fairings.
Yeah.
You know, but if you get it out on the relative wind at the right speed, then you have this object falling right side up, and whether it's a laptop or a little telephone or a or a car or you know, what, you name it, you know, if you get it to fall upright, it's like this victory. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In the movie, the good stuff, right?
Yes.
And what's interesting about this is,
Ooh, I was just told we have a bird in the house. My
oh, really?
my mother-in-law. Half a second. Yes, where's the bird?
Right there behind the couch.
Okay, tell you what, I'll come and get it in just a little bit, okay? Is that all right? I'll be right in.
Okay, right?
Huh? It'll be fine. Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah. We get birds stuck in here all the time, memes.
I know. You had one the other day.
It's my mother-in-law. She lives with us. We have a bird that flew into our house, and they fly in all the time. Our house is all windows.
Yeah.
So the birds are just, they think it's all open, you know, and in they go, and then they can't get out. So
When I lived in Spain, in Ampuria, my bedroom window, they used to fly in and do a 180, then fly out again. Crazy. I think that's what's
Smart
happening.
birds.
It might have been a dream, but I'm sure that happened once or twice.
I can't tell you how many birds I grab and take outside,
Incredible.
unless we're hungry, you know.
Yeah. Thanksgiving. So anyway, the good stuff. So what's interesting about this movie? What year was that now? Was it in the 90s already, or was it still 80s?
So it was in the 90s. After Rob's accident,
Yeah.
I think it was kind of you know, my own sort of manic approach to the world at the time. Like, I'm just gonna dive into this project. This is gonna be my life, you know. And so I spent between 96 and 2000 just going after every topic that's in the movie now, but just going after everything that I could find in the world, and connecting with athletes who I had come to know on the competitive circuit.
Yeah.
And filming just all the coolest stuff I could find over the next 4 years, and then put it out in 2000. So yeah, it was mid 90s.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of great tapes coming out. There was yours. There was the traveling movies from Patrick Passy, and you know, I was a new skydiver, and I was watching these on repeat. It's a different time, though, isn't it? Now you can put your footage together quickly, edit it on your phone, and it's on Facebook, and it's there for everybody. It's a different time for you, Joe, making your own film, then getting it released on VHS. How did you? I mean, you had the contacts, right, from Hollywood and things.
Yeah, luckily at the time, when Rob and I when we won the world meet and the extreme games and all of that, at the time, I don't know if you remember, but everything in advertising was extreme.
Yes.
You remember that word? They were selling extreme toilets and extreme, you know, sunglasses and extreme diapers. I mean, everything was extreme.
Yeah.
And so, of course, Rob and I ran off and just started doing one project after another. And it was like, wow, this is, you know, there's so many people that want this extreme theme.
Yeah.
And so it opened up a lot for me in Hollywood. I had to learn very quickly how to expose motion picture film and work with those cameras. There was a whole process, and I learned it. I also made some really good friends in the industry who were able to help me to develop and transfer film to video without going bankrupt every time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so I was able to shoot a lot of film when otherwise I wouldn't have been able to shoot film. But I also decided, just like, I'll take if it's a cool shot, I'll take any camera. You know what I mean? Like if somebody goes up and they have a camcorder on their head and they happen to catch a really cool shot, I'm not going to leave that shot out because it wasn't, film.
Yeah, got you.
So that was my approach.
Yeah. When you started getting involved in all these projects that were coming at you thick and fast, you and Rob, and then obviously as you move more into the Hollywood movie side of it, you're dealing with production, you're dealing with a big industry, and they're all shouting what shots they want. I mean, it must get a little bit sometimes on the safety side, a bit overpowering, where they've got a vision of what they want, and obviously as a skydiver, that's not what we can do.
Yeah,
How we deal with
definitely.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I found that a big part of my job is diplomacy. I saw pretty quickly, as I was getting into the industry, at the time, whenever there was skydiving in the movie, and I just happened to come into the Hollywood arena when, at the time, whenever there was a skydiving scene in a movie, it was all about bring out the stunt people.
Right.
The stunt people will make it happen. And there was a pretty, big group of stunt people in the Screen Actors Guild, and they were doing a lot of that work. As I came into the industry, and I did work with some of these folks, and at the beginning, I just remember, because I had been on the competitive arena and I'd seen what trained skydivers do. We're talking, trained people like airspeed and freestylists and sky surfers and free flyers. And there was this whole circus that I had been a part of where I had seen all of these well-trained skydivers, and I'd see a storyboard from a producer and I'd be like, I know the perfect people for this. Right. Then I would start to put together my team, and then I'm getting all this pushback from my friends in the stunt community saying, you have to keep this in the family, because if you start bringing all these new skydivers into this Screen Actors Guild, you're thinning out the pool of talent, and you're really screwing over the stunt community. Right. But at the time, I kind of clearly saw it like, look, I'm pretty sure that Hollywood already knows that if you're gonna film a really cool surfing scene in a movie, you're gonna get some really good surfers, right? You're not just gonna call the stuntmen to see what they can do.
Yeah.
They happen to surf. That was my argument at the time. It didn't fly. It got me in a lot of trouble, and I know that I've missed out on a lot of work, even today, as a result. Yeah. I mean, you end up getting blackballed because you are breaking some very important rules in the industry. And so legitimately, I know I was doing that, and I think that a lot of these guys were they were pretty upset. I think they understand today, obviously, that skydiving has evolved to the point where it's just a no-brainer, right? If you need somebody to fly a wingsuit, you get wingsuit flyers, right? You can't just get a stunt person to do it. So things have changed. I don't know why I kind of went off on a bit of a tangent there. What was your original?
Well, it was kind of like that. It was, I wanted to find out about this early days in Hollywood with you, and I was asking about how you deal with their
the pressure.
Yeah, but that was a good little side tangent. That was really good. That was gold. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That, so that was part of my experience. Interestingly, today, here I am, I've been in it forever, and I'm trying to mend some of those, relationships.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I just didn't do it. I think part of it was just my own security. I just thought, well, they hate me, so why bother? And now I'm thinking, well, I mean, they had a legitimate reason to be upset at me. But I've had a wonderful career nevertheless. But as far as producers and directors go, most of them were pretty remarkable. They would show up and they'd say, okay, here's what we want to shoot. and the director would say, "What are you really good at?
Right.
You know, show me some stuff that you're really good at. I want to tell this story, but I'd love to see what you're capable of doing." And
Interesting. Yeah.
so for us as skydivers, that was just like, oh fuck, that's beautiful. We can choreograph this and go for it, you know. And then there were just the most epic assholes I've ever met in my life. I mean, some of them were mind-blowingly clueless and mean, and everything else you see in Hollywood. I was just like, oh my God, this is Hollywood. Like, they just show up yelling right out the gate, you know, and just and pressuring and doing all of this. And you know, and I remember telling some of them, you know, part of what you're paying us for is to fucking stay alive, dude. Like,
Right.
you're telling us to go kill ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, literally, I've had directors screaming at us for refusing to do something dangerous. In fact, Patrick de Gaillardon was with me on one where a director was just howling at us for not flying right next to a big cliff on a blustery day. So you and I know, you just, you know, on a very blustery day, you don't fly right next to a big cliff under canopy.
Yeah.
Right. And we're saying, well, we can't do that today, another day, and so on and so forth. And this guy, why not? Rah, you know, just freak out. Just this whole scene as if like that's going to make it happen, you know?
Yeah, right.
And we diplomatically again and again and again. And he has an interpreter that's telling him all this stuff. He was from South Korea,
Right.
The director. And Patrick tells the interpreter, eventually Patrick just said, well, you know, maybe just tell him why not, because I punch him in the nose.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and you know, the interpreter said, nah, well, I'm not going to tell him that, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ran into a fair amount of that. And that's when I realized that a big part of my job was to be diplomatic, you know, and just to explain things as best as I could.
Yeah.
And then once I felt like something wasn't safe, like if somebody demanded something that wasn't dangerous, it didn't make sense to me, I might give it a try, because you know, a director can, or a producer can, next thing you know, you're doing something you didn't even imagine you
Right.
could do. So I actually learned from them, you know.
Yeah.
But when something feels unsafe, there just comes a point where you say no, and people aren't happy, and that's just life.
Yeah. It feels like every blockbuster now has got a skydiving scene in there at some point.
Yeah, I want to do some of those, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Half a second, 1 second.
Are you looking for the bird?
There's some commotion in my house. Just wanted to shut the door.
Oh, is that the bird flapping around a little bit?
The bird, and people are out there talking about it. Yeah.
So what do you do, Joe? Now I'm interested in this relationship repairing. You know, I like to find out about what you're going to do. How are you going to do that now? How are you going to move forward with that Hollywood stunt scene?
You know, I'm not even entirely sure how that's going to play out. I think that that something inside of me that was blocked just sort of became unblocked.
Yeah.
There was a lot of you know, I came into skydiving and competing with Rob Harris, and frankly, you know, when Rob and I were successful, obviously I was training for that. I wanted nothing more in the world than that. But I remember at the '94 World Meet when we won, and it surprised everybody, and it was all exciting, you know. I remember when I was suddenly getting attention that I never had before.
Right.
You know, you kind of see people looking at you like, wow, who are these guys who are winning, you know, and you see people looking at you or talking to you, or the cameras are coming. And I remember feeling very very uncomfortable
Right.
with it. You know, I think Rob was very graceful about it. Um, and so my comfort zone was always being a little bit more of a kind of an outsider, um, not part of the popular crowd and so on and so forth. I just have my own way of doing things. And and I think, you know, I brought some of those insecurities stayed with me, you know, for a long time. I managed it. I managed to get through and have a successful career, sort of in spite of some of the blocks that I had.
Yeah.
But I did have a lot of blocks, you know, like, so when I was having these issues with the stunt community in the beginning, eventually my response was, you know, fuck it, I'm just doing it my way, and they can hate me if they want. And I just assume, well, they don't like me and I'm used to that. That's easier for me than having people like me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just going to do it my own way. Um, and you know, I think part of not reaching out was just kind of being afraid of having somebody tell me to, you know, fuck off.
Right.
For, I don't know if I can cuss here, but
Which you can, yeah.
you know, and then I realized, you know, at some point it was like, well, I'm okay with that, you know, and all of a sudden I'm just not afraid, you know, so I'm picking up the phone and reaching out to people that I didn't reach out to before.
Yeah.
I mean, just my little, you know, reaching out to you and saying hello. Like I was seeing you, you were on your bike and then you're jumping on a train and you were sort of announcing it. I think you were just having fun with it,
Yeah.
you know, and it was like on a commute doing this and that, you know, the way that you would like announce an event,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I was listening to this and you know, and I just, so I'm reaching out now more than I used to, and I think that that by itself is going to change things over time. I'm experiencing doors opening just because I'm not afraid to reach out. I've always been kind of afraid to do that.
This is absolutely amazing. What a good story. This is really good stuff. I feel like I'm getting to know a lot more about you than I did. This is the thing, isn't it, with all those people, all us group of people that meet around the world in skydiving or other air sports. We might meet in passing, going to a plane or from a plane, and we'll do a high five and how are you doing? And we'll see each other having lunch or whatever. We never get the time to spend half an hour having a chat and getting to know each other a little bit. You know, and I
We
really,
assume so many things about each other. You know, we make so many assumptions, you know, and yeah.
Yeah, that's what I really do love, these little chats. So what's happening now? What's happening now in your life, Joe? What else is going on for you?
What else is going on? Man, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm back in action. Pretty busy again. I am I am triple vaxxed. You know, you know, I got both of my vaccinations, and then they start talking about getting boosters, which I don't qualify for. But I found there were places they're chucking shots out at the end of the day, that
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I went creeping around, and I knew somebody, and I was like, dude, if you're gonna throw that out, I'll take one of those, you know. So I was going to Mexico to film something with Troy Hartman, who is also a terrific story, and Steve Curtis. He came with us, and he's amazing. That guy is like a machine. He's doing all kinds of cool things. But we were going to Mexico, and I just thought I'm going to get a booster, you know. And basically, I just once I was vaccinated up, I just allowed myself to just get back out there.
Right.
And I figure if, you know, before I was vaccinated, I was hesitant about, you know, because you go skydiving and all these people jump into a fuselage, and a number of them were just hooting, hollering, having fun, um, uh, no masks, just. And I remember looking around like, are we in the Twilight Zone here? Like, I think we're having a pandemic. You know what I mean? so I felt really like that really did slow me down. And then after a while, I got vaccinated and so on and so forth. So I started pushing and doing more. Um, I love flying wingsuits. That's kind of, I've been doing that. I've been doing it for 10 or 15 years, but only really doing it now with the really nice suits, the new, like the Freak 4 I really like. I know Phoenix Fly also has some beautiful stuff too. I want to check it out for sure. But so I'm really enjoying that. I'm continuing to film. More productions are coming out of the woodwork, so that's exciting. The phone is starting to ring again. I'm beginning to promote again. I'm learning about how to do it. I was really good at promoting when you just paid for advertisements in a production guide or something.
Right.
That was easy. Then there was a period of time you just make a website, and if the website's good, it would draw attention. That was relatively easy. And today, the way the algorithms and everything work, I'm just completely confused. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I've been coasting on word of mouth for the last probably 10 or 15 years. And part of that was just feeling like, I don't know, I just had this narrative in my head, like, okay, you're 45, you're getting too old for this. And then it's like, oh, you're 50. Oh, wow, now you're really too old for this. And so I just was like, but I love doing the work, so I'll do what comes, but I'm kind of letting it go.
Okay.
And I even got into solar for a period of time where I was kind of getting into selling solar, and I got my little contractor's license and all that.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, all right, that was a midlife crisis. I'm done with that. I'm back in skydiving full bore. So, so now, yeah, I'm also filming a lot of stock footage. So that's really cool. Like I'm dreaming up things that I want to film. I'm reaching out to skydivers. In fact, I'd say this to, anybody who's listening, like, hey man, if you're doing anything really cool, I'm out there and I'm a cheap date, because I'm looking for, I just want to film beautiful things again.
Yeah.
So I have that enthusiasm, and yeah, that's it. That's what I'm doing.
What a perfect way to wrap it up. That's absolutely amazing, my friend. Joe, this was more than I thought it could be. Really, really great content. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man, great to talk with you. Now, who's interviewing you? I'm just curious, because there are a lot of questions out there, I'm sure.
Well, maybe we can switch it around one day. I'm not the best guest because I like to be in charge. I like to be the one.
Okay.
People start poking me. Anyway,
how dare you go there?
I'll tell you, but it's good. I should do. We should get it done one day. Maybe we'll get our director to do me one week
awesome.
here. Take care, Joe. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, Regan. It was great.